I'm Annabelle Sami, and today I'm going to read you the Agent Zaiba Investigates the Missing Diamonds. Chapter 2, Who Has a Secret? Saiba glanced over at Sam, who was doing her best to stifle her laughter. Hassan's dad dancing had certainly cheered her up, and her shoulders were shaking with laughter. "Stop moving," the henna artist scolded her. "Do you want a flower pattern or a squash snail?" An important part of the Mehndi design was the inclusion of the husband's initials. Saiba had heard stories that the longer the henna stain lasted on the bride's hands, the longer their love would last. But after hearing Saiba's couple name suggestion, Sam had asked for Samtan to be written instead. Saiba's gaze returned to the dance floor. There was something about this that wasn't quite right. "Dad doesn't normally dance," she muttered. "You're lucky," Poppy said. "My dad dances in the kitchen all the time. It's so embarrassing." Saiba tapped her finger against her chin, thinking. Why was her dad suddenly so interested in shaking his stuff on the dance floor in front of all these people? He'd sat watching cricket when they'd been practicing at home. Dancing just wasn't him. "Anyway, I wanted to dance," Poppy pouted sulkily, drawing Saiba's attention back to her best friend. "Don't worry, Pops," Saiba smiled. "I have a feeling Aunt Fazia has found us something better to do." She looked up at her aunt, whose eyes were scanning the room. Aunt Fazia cleared her throat and put on a deep voice. "I do indeed. Your next assignment, Agent Zaiba, with the assistant of Agent Poppy, is to work out..." She took Saiba by the shoulders and steered her round to look at the rest of the room. "Who here has a secret? Let's see if you can read the body language of the guests." Saiba felt her detective skills kicking in. She immediately froze as she spotted Mariam still sitting silently with her parents. Mariam had been scowling at her nastily, but her face broke out in a smug smile, and she gave a thumbs down as she spotted Saiba's dad dancing. He was kicking his feet like some sort of clumsy donkey. Saiba's heart thumped in her chest. Did Mariam have to be quite so horrible to her still? Who carried that much of a grudge over a unicorn piñata? As her cousin started to get down off her seat, Saiba quickly looked away and searched the rest of the room. Aha! Grandpa's hand was creeping towards the last samosa on the buffet table, but before Saiba could say anything, her grandma slapped his hand away. Well, Grandpa's big appetite wasn't such a big secret. "Come on," Aunt Fazia teased, poking Saiba in the ribs. "Keep looking." Poppy had already given up and was watching the dancing, marking through the moves that she'd memorised the minute Saiba had shown them to her. Saiba concentrated harder. Could it be the sulky boy underneath the dining table, using napkins to create a fort? No, that wouldn't be scandalous enough for her Aunt Fazia. She had to focus. Focus. "There!" Saiba cried out, pointing at her suspect. She'd been right. Her dad was up to something. "Shh!" Aunt Fazia patted Saiba on the head. "You figured it out, but let's not ruin the surprise for the other guests." Together, they watched her dad sneak behind the curtains at the back of the dance floor and then pop out the other side to stand in a corner of the room. His gaze shifted from side to side. What's he up to? Saiba wondered. As Jessica, Ali, and a few other cousins carried on dancing in formation, it was unlikely anyone would notice he was gone. Then a waiter with floppy hair wearing a badly fitted uniform appeared. He handed over a tray bearing a beautifully decorated celebration cake with multicoloured icing flowers piped around the edges to Saiba's dad. So that's what he was doing yesterday when he got up at 4 a.m. He'd told the family it was to watch the hockey. To watch the live matches in Pakistan, a fan had to get up extremely early. Last night's hockey had clearly been a cover story for her dad's other passion, baking. He made an entire cake without me noticing, Saiba thought glumly. I can't believe I missed that. Don't worry, her aunt gave her a hug. Keep honing your detective skills. You'll get there. Suddenly, a huge sigh of oohs and ahs swept over the crowd. Saiba's dad had reappeared on the dance floor, holding out the celebration cake to Samtan. Everyone applauded, and Sam blew them a kiss from her stage. Hassan carefully carried the cake over to her. "Let's go get a closer look," Poppy gushed, eyeing up the cake. There was a pause as the music faded back into the DJ's own mix of cheesy pop. During the silence, Saiba heard some banging above the ceiling. What was that? But Aunt Fizia and Poppy each took hold of her hand and dragged her to join the small crowd up on the stage, who were admiring the celebration cake. "Saiba, wasn't your family amazing?" Sam smiled. "They were definitely astonishing," Saiba joked, poking her tongue out at her dad. "Are you enjoying the party?" Tanvir joined in. "Oh, definitely. Thank you for inviting us." Poppy followed suit. "Happy wedding marriage thing," she stammered, handing Sam a present. "Oh, Poppy, how sweet of you," Sam was shocked. "You don't usually give the bride a present at a Mehndi, so I wasn't really expecting anything." "And Pops? That's a pakora," Saiba whispered. "Oops!" Poppy quickly swapped the snack for the small tissue paper parcel she had tucked away in her purse. "Poppy, it's beautiful." Sam seemed touched as she opened the present. Inside was a beaded bracelet that Poppy had made at after-school club. "And pakoras are my favourite," Tanvir winked, which made Poppy giggle. "You must be over the moon," Jessica smiled, hugging Aunt Fizia. "The party is wonderful and such a beautiful venue. A real-life castle for your princess." "Thank you. We were starting to lose hope at the end of last month. We couldn't seem to find anywhere to host us," Aunt Fizia shrugged. "All the hotels in the area are having issues at the moment. No one would let us book. One hotel was flooded, one had a bug infestation. Then Mr. Stevens at the Whitehall cancelled last minute. The Royal Star is beautiful," Saiba's dad chimed in, trying to cut off Aunt Fizia's ramblings. "Just as beautiful as my niece." "Yes, but," Sam began to say, placing a hand on Saiba's shoulder. "And did you know she's the youngest doctor on her ward?" Aunt Fizia interrupted. "Why, of course," Jessica replied. "How could we ever forget?" Saiba's dad added cheekily. Saiba cleared her throat. "I think Sam wanted to say something." The bride kissed her on the cheek. "Thank you, Saiba. What I was going to say is that I was a little nervous about how today would go." "Why?" Saiba asked, sensing a mystery. "Well," Sam started, tilting her head to one side. "The hotel manager phoned me last night to say that they had another last-minute guest for an event." She leaned into the group and they crowded round. "A celebrity." She straightened up, smoothing down her silk sari. "I didn't want anything to take away from my day, but the hotel manager assured me that the hotel was all set up to cater for 2 important guests." She glanced at Tanvir. "Well, 3 important guests." Saiba's eyes widened. "A VIP guest? Here?" "Who's the celebrity?" she asked breathlessly. Sam shrugged. "I don't know. It's confidential." "We should go and investigate," Saiba said to Poppy, who nodded eagerly. Jessica turned to the girls. "Go on then, you two, but make sure you keep checking in with one of us." Sam opened her arms and Saiba gave her a big squeeze, being careful not to smudge her henna patterns that were still drying. One smudge and a whole flower design could be obliterated. "It's going to be a great party," she whispered to her cousin. But looking up at Sam, Saiba thought she could still see a glint of worry in her eyes. Saiba knew that the surprise mystery guest wasn't the only reason Sam was feeling nervous. 2 days earlier, Sam had confided in her younger cousin. "All those people. I'm not used to the attention being on me," she'd admitted, busily sorting through the personalised place settings. "What if I say something silly or trip over my dress?" Saiba felt a shiver of concern. Sam deserved the best Mehndi party in the world. She made a secret promise to herself that she would make certain Sam enjoyed her night. "Don't worry, cuz," Saiba said. "I'll make sure there's no funny business." Zai, I think Poppy's waiting for you, her dad called, pointing towards the door where Poppy had already stationed herself. Saiba quickly nodded and released Sam from her tight hug. But before Saiba had a chance to follow her friend, her dad took her to one side and said seriously, Saiba, promise me you'll behave. It's a big deal for your cousin to have her party here. Of course, Saiba crossed her heart. Hassan chucked Saiba under the chin. Oh, and take your brother with you, her parents sang, before disappearing back into the crowd. Look, Saiba, Ali tugged at his sister's sleeve. Poppy was waving urgently from the doorway that led out into the driveway. The Mehndi party was in the function hall of the hotel, a separate annex just off from the reception area. Was the VIP guest here already? Go, sweetheart, see what you can detect. Aunt Fuzia gave Saiba a gentle push. Saiba raced across the dance floor, dodging couples and the waiter with floppy hair who was now handing out drinks. She nearly ran into Mariam, who appeared out of nowhere to block her way. Where do you think you're going? She asked, smiling smugly. Sorry, Mariam, I just need to get past, Saiba panted, ducking to one side. She really didn't want another argument now. Ali raced past them to the door, looking back at Mariam curiously. I knew your family would make fools of themselves in the dance contest, Mariam laughed nastily and wiggled her phone at Saiba. Now I'll always have video evidence. Who shall I send it to first? How about everyone in your year group at school? Saiba sighed impatiently. Do what you want, but don't forget, Mariam, they're your family too. She continued on past her cousin, now standing in stunned silence, towards Poppy, who was still frantically waving. If anyone was going to get a first look at the celebrity, it was definitely going to be Pops.